¿Cuál fue su predicción?
It was especially when they were starting out in the 90s. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Football Theory. We are your host, Ivan Sanchez, along with Alexander Gutierrez. What's up, Guti? How you doing?
Hey, Alex Gutierrez here on the mic. I'm good, man. I'm good. It's the end of June, so new month. Here we go. New opportunities.
Yeah, and you know what that means? We got during the time of the recording, we got a Mexico friendly. We got match day. I think by the time it comes out, the game would have already been played. So congratulations, Mexico, on the win. It was a hard-fought match. Any quick predictions that you want to say before going to the future?
Goodness sakes. Yeah, it's going to be a 1-0 win for sure. 1-0 win.
It was a 1-0 win. Yeah, you're right. All right, cool. Yeah, it was a 1-0 win.
Yeah.
So we have Mexico. They're gearing up for two competitions. You got them in the Gold Cup starting next week. You also have the younger team preparing for the Olympics, and this match in Nashville looks like the majority of them are going to be more of the Olympic-based roster. You also have them playing Nigeria on Saturday in Los Angeles, which will probably be more of the Gold Cup roster. But over the last week or so, you've had both teams kind of mixed together. And, a lot's come out. You have Andres Guardado, who's going to be out for the tournament. You have JJ Macias, who's going to be out for the Olympics. You have Gerardo Ortega, who's going to be out for the Olympics as well. But overall, what are you hoping to see out of these next two friendlies?
Yeah. When it comes down to these games, it feels like the summer. Every time the summer comes around, there's always like a problem, right? We have like Copa America, Copa Confederaciones, Copa Oro, usually there's always two tournaments going on, right? Which I guess is like, it's okay. It's a cool problem to have, like with so many players getting opportunities, but I never feel like anyone comes out and just tells us what the direction they're taking. So it is kind of weird in a couple ways that, you have Tata Martino even being involved with the Olympic team. When we have an Olympic coach, right? Before the problem was we didn't have an Olympic coach, but the last, 2-3 cycles, we've had Olympic coaches. So it's like, you got the players there. I know you're looking at them. It's kind of a mini camp. It's kind of not. We're bringing in guys from Villarreal just to come and like test the waters. They're not going to play. They're just going to be there. You got guys like being called up last minute. Like you said, injuries. Guardado pulled out. Arteaga pulled out personal reasons. JJ Macias, I think he's I don't know, on purpose, maybe trying to sit out. But you have different things going on. So I don't really expect too much, to be honest. It's almost like these are money grabs. And so, what better way to play Panama against, in Nashville, right? So it's just a money grab, man. I don't see too much.
Yeah, I mean, you are, for one, the Olympic more focused squad. They are preparing for a tournament. And these are as much less of a money grab, these two, than they was, let's say, the Honduras game. That one was a money grab. This one, at least you can say you're building to something. And the way the roster, it's like 44 players. So for the most part, you're splitting up. You're going to get your two teams right out of there, right? There's not a lot of wiggle room anymore. You're not bringing in anybody else. From here, you're going to get the two teams. And it's almost like, let's say they're trying to figure out, or you would hope that the idea with the combined camp is, where are we finding really good combination of players that are kind of in between those two, who can be the Olympics or can be in the Gold Cup? Where are we finding the best mixture of those players that can give us success to both? I think that, if I'm being optimistic, I would hope that's what's coming out of these trainings.
I think that's probably one of the plans. Let's see what guys like Tata likes for the future, right? Especially they're trying to make that transition, right? We talked about how a lot of Olympic players are probably some of the best players available anyways right now. So they'll probably will play the qualifier. So I think it's kind of like let me see how they work together with these guys, and then we'll see how it works. And then that way I can call them in the fall and I already know who they are. So I can kind of understand that. It's just kind of weird though. You got like Jimmy Lozano like on the side and his team being coached. So that part is weird for me. But like you said, it's not really an Olympic team playing today. It's a mix of everything. So it's just weird all around. But like you said, it's not that bad. Like when they played Honduras in Atlanta, that was totally obviously mole. But this could work. And Panama is not a top team right now. So it'll give them a good challenge, and it'll be something, to get ready for sure.
Yeah, and if you played most of your Olympic-based players for this Panama game, you're not really showing any hands for what you could possibly face them down the line later this month in the Gold Cup. And it's a good opportunity for a team who likes to play Panama style, who might be physical, who might try to rough up the game a little bit for them. And it's a good test for them where maybe soccer skill wise they might be ahead, but are you able to break this team down? Are you able to do the little things when you given this opportunity, when given the majority of the ball, to break a more senior team down? I think that's all good positives that you could take from the game being played tonight. And then for for the game on Sunday, again, you're very you don't have a lot of options. Euros is going on, Copa America is going on. You don't have a lot of options for teams outside your own region for friendlies. So
Right.
this is a good opportunity to play a team on paper, Nigeria, who probably is a little higher quality than some of the other teams in CONCACAF, and you're getting something new as well.
Yeah, and get ready for some physicality that you're going to probably get in Copa Oro, even though you don't play a team of that caliber, but you play a team from the Caribbean that have like these guys that are very athletic, that could push you around. So it's good to get that little mix in with the team like that, and it's definitely one of the top teams, obviously, in Africa, Nigeria. And I think it's also something like kind of for the Olympics too, because you will play like an African team, so and they've done it before, so it's cool. It's a good option for what's left over. An African team would definitely give you a good competition. I don't see too many Asian teams, from Asia giving them that much of a competition, or even Oceania or Oceania, whatever Oceania, confederation. So yeah, like you said, out of the best opportunities that they have left, they don't want to play anyone from CONCACAF. CONMEBOL's busy, Europe's busy, so it's a good option. It's a good little.
Yeah. And so looking forward to, we don't know the rosters yet completely for both. We have the base idea of both of them right there with the roster that they have of the 44. One keeper is going to miss out completely on them, as you have 3 and 2, and there's 6. So one of them's going to miss. Maybe 1 or 2 players are going to miss both tournaments as well. But one player that we know who's going to be out for the senior team is going to be Andres Guardado, out 6 weeks. Looks like they were hoping that he might have only be out 3 weeks, recovered maybe 4, but it looks like he's going to be out. What do you expect? What are you hoping to see, or what are your overall thoughts moving into the tournament without the captain of the Mexican national team?
I mean, it sounds cold, and obviously, we're still hanging over what happened the last time they played, but nothing to do with that at all. I think it's time to move on anyways. I think it's okay for let's go to a tournament without our veteran, without our captain. A tournament like Copa Oro that is winnable with or without him. I don't think he's the X factor to win it either. So no, it's time for these other midfielders to step up, man. See what Luis Romo can do. See what Luis Romo's going to the Olympics, huh? We'll see what the other young guys can do. Charlie or whoever plays in the midfield. So no, it's time to turn the page, and he's going to be available for the fall, which you do need veterans when you go into Honduras. When you fly into Costa Rica, you are going to need some veterans, but for this kind of Copa Oro in the summer, it's okay. It's been a long year for Guardado too, so it's okay.
Yeah, I think it gives an opportunity for someone like Jonathan Dos Santos, who is now going to be seeing a little bit more of a vet presence, and who sometimes has his spot blocked because of players like Herrera and Guardado. You look at somebody else like Charlie, who has an opportunity depending on which roster he's on. You also have your namesake Guti as well. I think he's got brought back in after missing the Final Four in the Nations League. So these guys who actually Guardado has, because of Guardado's presence and what he does, and both as a leader and both his ability to kind of play multiple positions and do a lot for the midfield, I think people kind of forget to value what he does on the field and what he's able to do, the little things and the balance he brings, and the fact that he's done it for a long time, has played multiple positions. Now it's given opportunity for players like Dos Santos, like Gutierrez, even somebody like Charlie, who they're going to be able to get more games and have more of a chance to prove themselves next to Hector Herrera.
Yeah, and I like the fact that Copa Oro's like, it is competitive as far as like within the region. Like these other teams are going all out, right? So it's not like, oh, it's just Copa Oro. It's like, yeah, it is, but the other teams do go all out. And what a good problem to have, that like we're trying to figure out who's going to the Olympics and who's not, and obviously we know United States didn't qualify. We know some other countries didn't qualify. So they can downplay it all they want, but I feel like it's a good thing that we have this opportunity for that many players. I think that's a good thing for sure. It's better to be in it than not be in it. So that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's unfortunate, I think, for somebody like Macias was going to be out, but like you said earlier, you're hinting at there's possibility he's going to move to Getafe. That looks like that's what's been rumored. I think for a standpoint, moving to La Liga is fantastic. I think moving for a team like Getafe, who plays a rugged style, but it's going to be, it's always hit or miss at times when these players transfer. They have to be almost in a really good position for them to prosper because of, they're not a Brazilian, they're not an Argentine. They don't kind of get the benefit of the doubt sometimes. So it's an opportunity for them to prove. But you're talking about a team who is actually known for a solid play in La Liga. What do you think about the possibility of JJ moving to Getafe?
I'm a huge Jota fan since he was like in the U16, U17s doing it. So it's time, man. It's time for him to go. I've been saying it last week, and shout out to La Liga MX, Liga MX podcast, which I was on their show a couple of times. Shout out to them. But we talked about it before. They're big Chivas fans, and and they didn't like when I responded that I thought it was time for him to go. 2 seasons ago, he doesn't want to be in Chivas. You could tell. I mean, you could just tell he's not playing with that same. And you could say, "Oh, Leon was a better playing team." Yeah, but you could just tell. Like, I don't know. I could just see the body language is not there. He's very talented. He's very turn off the switch, turn on the switch kind of player. Plays when he wants to, kind of thing, which we've seen from a lot of Mexican players coming up that kind of pissed us off. But I think it's a good test for him, man. I don't think there's nothing else in Liga MX for him. MLS is not the move right now. So, what better way to go to a small team in España that could probably give him some playing time, give him a chance to play, and quality he has. So hopefully he gets inspired by that and does good.
Yeah, and I think moving to a league like La Liga, what you're going to get is you're going to get the challenge of you being asked to be consistent week in and week out, where that's going to be, you have to show up every day. And I think his move from Chivas is good because the club, whether you're a fan or not, you have to admit it's a mess, whether you like it or not. You can see it in that documentary they had that it's a mess. So I think it's great for him because when he's in the right situation, you've seen him prosper. And and then quickly touching on the last player who's out, Gerardo Ortega, who says he's out for personal reasons. This is a club his club team, Ghent in Belgium, now in the qualifying stages of Champions League. You can see they might want him back for that possibility of a transfer maybe too. So I think for him, where he has an opportunity, might be one of the best left backs that Mexico has. Him being away this summer and focusing on his club, especially if the club sees there's a possibility of a moon soon, I think that for the long term, it's good for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing you're going to play with, right? When you have players in Europe, like we harp about it, like, oh, we want more players in Europe. We want our whole roster in Europe. And obviously I'll ask you about it later on, but, I think the U.S. national team is starting to see that, like, well, we're going to send our B team because the players aren't available. It's like, that's the thing. When you have players in Europe, you are at the mercy of what these clubs want to do with these players, and they have summer plans too. It's not like they just give them vacation the whole summer. They give them 2 weeks or whatever it may be, and they're back to work and they have games and they have a whole, they have a long season ahead of them, Champions League, like you said, different local competitions they have. So, when you have players that are part of these big leagues in Europe, they get tired and they don't want to be out here. And sometimes some competitions just don't appeal to them. I do think the Olympics are a big opportunity, but I also don't think it's like you have to go. I mean, we know we've seen big names go in and out of the Olympics. Messi, Neymar, they've gone to the Olympics, but I don't think it's like something you have to do. And I think they're saying Macias needs to go. He can get an opportunity. It's like, well, I think if the opportunity is already there to go to Getafe, I can't think of a better opportunity than that. I think, yeah, you can name obviously better clubs, but opportunity is there, right? With the 1-year loan, with like a chance like buying the club. I think buying the car 50% or something like that. Arteaga, the same thing. If he's on a small club and he's playing and he's getting that playing time, that's where he needs to be right now. It's not a hit or miss to go to Olympics. I don't think so. Or go to one of these tournaments,
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And, because the Olympic isn't a FIFA event, they don't have to give them up. And again, these guys this is their investment at the end of the day. They're paying for him. If they don't want to add miles to him, it's completely in their right that they don't have to. Yeah. And so I always find it funny seems like it happens every 4 years when, the qualification for the Olympics happen, and then people start talking about, oh, look at the squad so-and-so can take. I remember you see people talking about, oh, Mexico's going to go up against Mbappe. It's like, no, they're not. No, he's not. He's playing in Euros. He's not going to go to the French team after Euros.
Guignac's going, though.
The club would never allow him to play 2 tournaments in the summer like that. And so, I always find it funny when we make this big deal about the possibility of what the roster could look like, because it's never going to look like that, because these clubs also have an investment and a huge investment in these players, and so it has to be what works for them, because that's where they're spending the majority of their time.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget. I mean, when Mexico won the gold, Oribe Peralta was the forward, right? And we had a better player, more, obviously a hotter player at the time, Chicharito, who, was in London. I mean, it was in Manchester at the time, and the Olympics were in London, and they didn't let him go. We're talking about, he's in the country. They're like, no, he's not playing the Olympics. So, like, it's something that, you might want the best players to go, but the clubs have an interest in their players and they can't just let them go. I think, obviously, we know Neymar was allowed to play, I think, last time just because it was the Olympics in Brazil. But I don't think that's going to happen. Something like that won't happen again. It's something like, well, they haven't won the gold medal before. They were hurt that they lost the time before to Mexico, and they were at home, right? So it's like we got to get the gold this one opportunity we have. So, I think we got to get over that too. And I'm okay with the younger guys going. The Olympics were meant for that, right? The Olympics were, I guess the story before was the Olympics were created, obviously, and then the World Cup came after because the Olympics said no more pro players, right? So because of no more pro players, then like FIFA was created and they started doing these World Cups. That's why they're on off years, right? But that's what the Olympics are for now. It should be younger guys. It should be guys that are trying to get opportunities. It doesn't have to be the younger guys that already have consolidated themselves, right? Like a Linus, that he's kind of like in the middle where like, oh, he's kind of made of a name for himself. In Mexico, obviously, we know who he is, but he could use this to even get to another level. But other players like a Tecatito or even like Ochoa, like they don't need to be going to the Olympics, in my opinion. Like it's like, for what, bro? Like you're 30 something years old, Ochoa. Like, and that's a different story. We talked about that before. So yeah, good luck to them. I think we'll be okay, and we'll see how they do against these two teams coming up.
Yeah, that's right. And so next week we'll get more deeper into the Gold Cup, because that'll start next weekend. So look for that. But right when we come back, we got Euros, we got Copa America. Things are heating up. We got knockout football. So we'll get right to that right after this.
Perfect. All right, I got my Euros thing open right here too. So you beat me on the picks. You beat me 5-3. So I went back and played it. I went back and played it. I wrote them down and stuff. I was like, okay, so we'll do our picks for this round too.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Whenever you're ready, hit it.
All right, welcome back to Football Theory. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, catch us on our individual Twitters as well. We always talking about a bunch of things besides soccer, but we hear it. And moving on, now we're going back across the pond. We got Euros, we got knockout football, and man, where to begin? I mean, great round of 16 for Euros.
Heck yeah.
Quickly going over them. Denmark beats Wales 4-0. Italy beats Australia in extra time 2-1. Czech Republic beats Netherlands 2-0. Belgium beats Portugal 1-0. And then maybe the craziest day of knockout soccer in a while, Spain beats Croatia 5-3 in extra time. France loses to Switzerland 3-3, or tie 3-3, loses 4-3 in PK, or 3-5, 4-5 in PKs. Right. England beats Germany 2-0. Ukraine beats Sweden 2-1. Guti, let's start. What was your biggest takeaway?
Man, well, they were good, man. They were all good, especially like they're good because none of my teams are playing. I don't root for any of these teams, so it's always fun to watch good games when you're not even part of that fan base. But obviously going back, we kind of called some of these. We were shocked by a couple of them, especially like I think most people were shocked about Switzerland, France. We thought Switzerland had no opportunity to be there, but France is out. They were definitely the most, I would say, anticipated team to win the whole thing, and they're gone. I don't think, they lost in PKs, that's how they probably were going to lose, right? It's the only way they were going to lose to that team, and they did, but also they did give up 3 goals, so there's nothing to lose there. And then the Spain Croatia, man, that was crazy. I felt like it's hard to say that's a great game. 8 goals. I'm like, 8 goals means like really sloppy defending, right? And if you looked at a couple of the goals, you're like, come on, bro. And obviously started off with, the Spanish goalkeeper giving up like this is a terrible goal. And obviously that's how it's kind of hard to climb out of that hole. And then Croatia just got like at the end too, as they came back, in overtime, they just kind of like got sloppy on defense, and Morata was wide open on that one. Defenders, it wasn't even a defender back there. So it was good though, man. 5-3 was good to watch when it's not your team. And then obviously I think the biggest takeaway, I think the best game was, England, Germany was pretty good. It was probably one of the best games for sure. Just going back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so many different things you saw. I mean, Yeah, where do we begin? With the France, I think you saw a team in Switzerland who was well organized, who didn't fear France, who I think were very uh, comfortable playing France. Part of it, I think, had to do with France coming out with a 3-4-3 lineup and something that just it didn't look like it completely clicked. And when it did click, you saw for 20 minutes right after the PK save what the France that I think a lot of people were expecting were wanted to look like. And you saw it in those 15, 20 minutes when they came back from 1-0 to take that 3-1 lead. And you, and then you saw again just the sloppiness and the lack of cohesionness, I think, in that back line of three that France were not comfortable playing in. And I think all credit has to go to Switzerland because
Yeah.
we've talked about these teams and the levels. We thought France were above and a level above and beyond all these other teams. You look at teams like Sweden, who don't have a large amount of big names. They have a couple of guys who play in pretty big clubs, but what they do have is they have a lot of players who play in these leagues and who play for good teams in these leagues. And they've been around actually for quite a little bit. Rodriguez is a guy that I remember. I've been remembering for a while. You have Summer, who's been in Gladbach, who plays decently, who's been a keeper also that I've recognized for a while. And I think it's one of those things where because of who missed it and the tournament he's had and Mbappe, I think a lot of the fault's going to go to him. And I
Yeah, that's
think
kind of unfair though. But yeah, I agree. It's unfair
because
though.
if he puts away the ball that Pogba gives him in overtime, in extra time, it's 4-3. And that's game, and they move on. I think so. And the fact that he didn't score all tournament long, and it's not me. I think the dude. I mean, he's 22 years old. The kid has a World Cup under his belt. He was a game away from winning a Champions League. He's pretty much accomplished almost anything you can. At 17, he led Monaco to the semifinals as well. He was possibly the best player for France in the World Cup 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But it just shows how fickle the sport is as well. You know what I mean? Like we talk about and how it is, how you really have to take advantage when you do have a talented generation. Where 3 years ago they win it. 5 years ago, I guess now they lose in the finals, and now here they're in the round 16. But you're still going to look in paper and say that's probably one of the most talented teams.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of these European teams are really, really talented. We're just going based off like, okay, the team that just won the World Cup always has that pressure, like, oh, they're going to do it again in Euros. But this shows you, and I saw a tweet about this. This shows you how tough that Spain run and how like well that was. Where they got 2 Euros and a World Cup in between that. Like that is not easy to do, right? So it's going to look like we have to wait another round to see who could do that again. But yeah, I was impressed by Switzerland. Like you said, they had some player. They see that they had a Dominican player. You saw that? There's a kid from like Dominican parents. That was pretty cool. I guess he didn't want to play Copa Oro, so that's fine. But no, but it was cool, man. It was all around great games. It felt weird today not having any games. That Denmark game, man, like they just shut them down, man. So they're definitely going to be something to reckon with next round. I that was one of the teams that I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to go with Wales just to go with Wales, but I was totally wrong. Italy held off, right? They were able to hold off 2-1. That wasn't one of the best games out of the round, but good enough. And then Czech Republic, man, we're not talking about how surprising that was. They beat the Netherlands, man. So the no era penal, we are yesterday was the anniversary. So what it was 7 years, 7 years no era penal. And I guess they're talking about, it's a curse, right? Since then, they didn't make the World Cup. Since then, they haven't done anything in Euros, So, so we'll see. We'll see how they go. What'd you think about that Belgium game, man?
I mean, it was a good game. I mean, of course, the household was happy for the victory. When you looked on paper, that one and the Germany England game looked like the two toughest games. I think you're upset because Hazard got hurt and De Bruyne got hurt, and you're gonna have to play the quarterfinals without them. But what you saw was them actually be able to hold on to a lead, get pushed back and not completely fold. I think that was very impressive. I think if you're Belgium, because I think in years past, especially because the back three, they're all over 30. That looks like the weak part in being able to attack this team is attack them with pace, attack them and through out wide too, and really put the pressure on them. The fact that they were able to hold on 1-0, I think was fantastic for them. and for Martinez, because I think Martinez does have the ability to be outcoached and be out tinkered with in a game. And so for him to, for them not to happen against a good quality opponent like Portugal, I think was huge for Belgium moving forward. It'll be interesting, the matchup with Italy, because I think Belgium, even though they might be more talented, I think they still have the possibility of being outcoached and being out strategized with what happens in the game, in the actual game to game, and the adjustments that can be made, if I'm being honest with you. But I think for Belgium, it's a huge step forward, and to have that depth where even if the older Hazard is going to be hurt and De Bruyne is going to be hurt, you're going to bring in Martins and you're going to bring in a Carrasco. Those are two backups. Those are really good backups to have that you can plug in for a starting lineup.
Yeah, man. We'll see how it goes. I was also impressed by the Ukraine, man. I was pulling for Ukraine at the end. I was like, we talked about how Sweden was just good enough to keep going. They're very composed in the first round. And then Ukraine, man, they just did not back down, bro. They just did not back down. And it was funny because there was about 2 minutes left in overtime. And I texted my buddy, like, hey, we're going to go somewhere. And I said, you know what, let me just watch these PKs real quick. And as I'm typing PKs, they score. So he just texts back a Ukraine flag. And I was like, dang, dude, like, never mind. So, yeah, that was a great finish. And yeah, ready for the next round, man. On to the next for sure.
Yeah, so we got 4 matchups. We got well, quickly predictions. So we're gonna predict the next round like we did the last round.
Yeah, I lost last time. You got 5. You got 5 correct. You know, because no one picked Ukraine. So you got 5 out of 8. And I got 3. So I'm trying to redeem myself right here. And I might go a little opposite just because. So we'll see.
Whatever you say, man. Whatever you think. But we got.
I'm gonna do better in Copa Oro, man. I'm gonna do better in Copa Oro. I can feel it. Martinique, yeah. Guadalupe. You know, I'm gonna do better with that.
On Friday, we got Sweden against Switzerland. You got the Switzerland got another upset in them.
No, I don't think so. No? I think Spain. Yeah. I think Spain could. I think, like, I don't know. We weren't impressed with them, but I think they're just gonna be pumped up off this win. I know, like, they should have already won in the first, but it's just that momentum they have going. I could see Spain outplaying Switzerland this time.
Yeah, I think Spain for this match. I think the way the chances they're creating and the way they're really rolling now. I think for Switzerland, it also might be such a drop emotionally for them. I mean, it takes a lot out of you, and you have to be so mentally locked in. And for them to do it twice in a row might be a little too much for them. But I think it's still going to give Spain a good game, but I think Spain right now are rolling too much, especially 10 goals in the last 2 games. I think they're just going to create too many chances for Switzerland to be able to keep up. And I think when their style is so much different than France's, where we're relying so much on being so good defensively, and that weren't creating that many chances, and just figured that with the talent they have in attack, they're going to get it. Here, Spain kind of almost goes the opposite. It's like, we're going to continue to kind of push the envelope up. And I think over time, the dam will break. So I think Spain for me too.
Yeah, and they're just good enough to keep going. You know, I just feel.
You know what? By the time this comes out, the semifinals are going to be during the week too. So we might just have to predict our finals here.
Okay,
so
we can do that.
Right, so right now you got Spain against Switzerland. Later that day, we got Belgium against Italy. Who do you like in this game?
Just to go against you, man, just so I can even it out, I'm going to go Italy. Just to, like I said, my Italian side, if you could tell the resemblance, I'm half Italian. No, I'm just playing. No, but yeah, I'm definitely going to roll Italy, man. I'm just going to go with them just to go against you. But I think Belgium can win, but I'm just going to say Italy today. Let's say Italy.
Yeah. I like to stay off the couch at night. So I'm going to go with Belgium. Keep riding the house tick. But another great matchup, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I think it's gonna be great. You know, Italy allowing a goal, that kind of mentality, I think, is not gonna be broken because they went over 1,000 minutes without conceding. So now you have a team, and Belgium is like, all right, they've seen that it can happen. You're gonna get the confidence of them, even if you're gonna miss your two best attacking players in a way. And I really like the way Lukaku's been playing. I think him and Pogba. I mean, he's been one of the best players in the tournament, along with players like Pogba. I think he is a great opportunity for him to really lead the team to a semifinals win or a quarterfinals win.
Okay, so then if you have Belgium going on, and they're, so you think Belgium can get past, Spain or Switzerland before we go to, and get to the final, or what?
Yes, I think Belgium will beat Spain. I think Spain. The thing with knockout football, I think we forget about it. It's so much more cagier, especially in international, that when you're kind of squeaking in, allowing goals, that can kind of manifest itself later down the tournament. So I think with Belgium, who've been able to be pretty consistent, but a team like I think Spain, and this kind of go with my pick for the other side too, on why I think they're going to make the finals. But when you're able to kind of hold on and be more consistent in the back and not allow these kind of cheap goals, I think that helps you longer term. So I think Belgium is set to play in the finals in a week and a half.
Okay. So I'm just gonna roll. I'm just stick on that side of the bracket. I'm just gonna go Italy passes by, and then they're also gonna get to the next one. So I do see Italy going to the final in this on that side of the bracket
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. Yeah, and then the other one we got the world's team. I think Denmark against the Czech Republic. Czech Republic helped me save face when I said Belgium when I said the Holland was gonna fall at some point, and they didn't. They didn't during the group stage, but they did in the round of 16. So I had so shout out to the Czech Republic for helping me out with that. But with
Yeah.
that said, for me, I'm gonna have to go Denmark. I think they're gaining confidence. They um similar to the way we discussed Switzerland, where they just have really good players all over the field, like just good, solid quality players. I think here it's something similar where their highs might not be very high, but they don't have, but their bottom isn't bottom very low either. So it's I
Yeah.
think just that level of 1 to 11, 1 to 14 that they're going to be able to bring, even with Christensen being out, helps them get past the Czech Republic.
I think overall they're gonna be they're Czech. Hey, I wouldn't count the Czech Republic out though. But you just feel like one of these smaller, these runs they're making. I feel like sometimes when you get to this part, like okay, now the more solid team will win. So I think I'm gonna go with Denmark too, just because the way they've played their last 2-3 games. They're coming off really, at least 1-4-0, man. So they're rested, they're ready to go. So I'll go with Denmark as well. And I think one of the games that we think might be like a huge landslide. I wouldn't say it's not so fast, but yeah, Ukraine, England. What do you got?
I got England, man. They still haven't given up a goal. I think it's something that we discussed. Like they're not allowing. They had Mueller had a good chance to tie it up, and there was been a few chances where the back line's kind of squeaked up a little bit. But they've been very solid. It hasn't been pretty. I think everybody saw the attacking prowess that England has on paper, but he's been more conservative. Southgate in the approach with two defensive midfielders, back line of three. Um, but what that has allowed is they're not allowing goals, and he's made some good adjustments during the game, which is kind of impressive. It kind of makes you think that he should probably make some changes before the game, like in the starting lineup. But the fact that he's able to seems like he's making the right choices at the right times in the middle of the game is good. So I think England beats Ukraine, and I'm going to have them in the finals as well for that same reason that they just haven't they've been solid in the back. And I think that's so important in knockout football, when especially at the international stage, when you're not letting in any goals, and that kind of builds confidence too.
Yeah, and we have we have time for we'll be recording our other episode before the final, so we don't have to give our final on that one yet. We'll have a chance to redeem ourselves for the final. But yeah, I definitely have England just being overall a better team, a big favorite, obviously, with the players they have, where they play, obviously their league, and Ukraine having a very emotional run. Winning overtime is no joke, beating a really strong Sweden team. I was hoping, if Ukraine plays someone else, even if they play Denmark or Czech, I think Ukraine would have a better opportunity. But I think England will get past them, play Denmark, and then we'll see if the final is England Italy, like I think it is. So
Yeah,
shout out to
I
my
think
English buddies. Yeah.
I think England were happy to see Ukraine instead of Sweden. I think if it was going to be
Yeah, my
Sweden,
buddy Ben was. So shout out to my buddy Ben who listens to this. He definitely was excited to see Ukraine instead of Sweden.
yeah, 'cause I think Sweden had the type of mentality and the type of not fear to really go at England and
England.
make it
Yeah.
really frustrating for them. But they didn't get it done, and so here we are. So we've made our picks. We've talked around 16, and we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to head back down to South America, where we got some more knockout soccer to talk about here at Football Theory.
All right, perfect, man. We're doing good. We'll have a Copa America quarterfinals here. Okay. I'm ready when you are, man.
3, 2, 1. And we're back here at Football Theory. it's Guti, it's Ivan, and now we're heading down to South America for the Copa America, who have also round. We've talked about them in the past. It has not been good talking about the Copa America. We've been both been disappointed, but we have survived the slugfest of the group stage, and now we are here in the quarterfinals. Guti, you're laughing.
It was like the Super Smash Brothers, like where everyone's on top of that thing, everyone's playing. It's like 10 of the characters and waiting for one character to fall off that like little like platform, and it just took forever, man. It took forever, and I took days off from it, and like Twitter would just keep me updated. Like another game is like, bro, why would I get excited off like your fourth game, bro? Like, so yeah, it definitely was something that we predicted, and we called it. We called, or at least I think we both said Venezuela and Bolivia would be out, and so I think we hit it on the mark there. So yeah. Let's see, knockout. It's knockout soccer, and there's some teams that can beat each other, and they all know each other very, very well. It's not like CONCACAF where you have teams that have been there a long time, or you'll play someone new that maybe hasn't been there in 8 years. Like Copa America is the same teams every single time. There's no guest, so they know each other very, very well. And I don't think any of them are really scared of the other one. Maybe a couple smaller teams might be, but the rest of them, I think they're just ready to go head to head, man. So yeah. I think the first one, right? I think I'm just going off what I see here. Peru, Paraguay. I think that's very even. What do you got?
For me, even though I think they're struggling the World Cup qualifying, but I think Peru. It's kind of one of those things we've talked about a few times where you have a team on the rise, you have a team going down. Peru kind of peaked 3-4 years ago, making the World Cup, making a Copa America finals, having these kind of good little runs. I think a Copa America Centenario semifinals run or around or quarterfinals run, something like that too. Yeah. So I think now you're starting to see the kind of the downfall of it. Their peak was making it to the World Cup. You have Paraguay, who's kind of from the ashes, kind of coming back. They were a fixture in South American soccer in the early 2000s and the late 90s. They've kind of gone through a little rough stretch here in the middle of the last decade, and now they're coming back. I think I'm going to go with Peru just because I know, but I think it's kind of one of those things evenly where they're kind of meeting at these two different directions of where they're going. But I'm just going to go Peru for my gut.
I think it's one of the most even games out of the four. So yeah, I'm definitely going to stick. I'm going to go with Peru too. I think they have experienced players, the coaching staff. They have some kind of like a little bit of a group going still. I know they didn't call some of their big names, but and don't forget they have a Mexican player there, so I'm going to root for him all the way. So Ormeño. So yeah, we'll see. I want Peru to win that game.
Yeah, and the next one we got Brazil, Chile. I think Brazil for me easily, and I mean they've been the best team by far in this tournament, so I'm just going to stick with Brazil.
Brazil, man. We say that in Mexico a lot. Right? We say that in Spanish, like Brazil is Brazil, and you can't count them out of a U10 tournament, right? You couldn't count them out of a U50 tournament. So no, I think Brazil is Brazil. I don't think this is the best Chile team. This isn't that same generation that we're talking about before. This isn't the team that was going to back-to-back Copa America finals, that was going far in confederations. This is not that team. So I'm definitely going to go with Brazil. I think they're going to win by a couple goals, actually, to be honest. And I've been hitting it on the mark with the goal differential, so I think they're going to go by a couple goals.
Yeah, there's a reason Chile finished, second to last in the group and just barely and made it into the position they are. So yeah, so then that leads us to Brazil, Peru into the finals. Similar to Europe, the finals will be set by the time we record next. So for me, I think Brazil rides it all the way to the finals.
You going with the easy one, huh? Yeah, man. I think Brazil, if they had to play, in that side of the bracket for sure, Brazil's going all the way for sure. They're going to the final. Yeah, they're at home, and you're lucky they don't have their fans because it would definitely be even, I think, bigger goal margin for sure.
Yeah. And on the other side, you got Argentina against Ecuador. I think Argentina not playing at the heights of Brazil, but they're kind of finding themselves little by little. You're definitely seeing the quality and just the overall kind of, I'm not sure if overwhelming is the word. I think Brazil kind of is overwhelming everybody, but you're just kind of seeing them pick it up as they need to as this tournament progresses, kind of what you would expect these good teams to do in the group stage. So for me, Argentina against Ecuador.
That's another team you can't count out. I don't care what tournament it is, Messi or no Messi. I just growing up, you see Argentina just be in everything. So yeah, they're definitely showing their class. Messi's playing this little role where like, I'm gonna be there. I'll get you guys out of a couple little things. If I got to score a free kick or put a pass, I'll do it. So it's kind of kind of cool to see some of these legends. You know, we saw Ronaldo, you know, exit out probably his last Euro game. Obviously, he was pretty upset. So I could see, hey, this is one thing Messi hasn't won, right? One of the things he hasn't won. So hopefully he can get to the final. This could be the year.
You know, I'm gonna wrap. I think that it is gonna be the year who he's gonna face in the semifinals to get there. You know, Uruguay, Colombia, tasty matchup. I think for me though, I think Uruguay, they still just have too much talent, and they love these kind of moments. They love these kind of matchups where they can talk themselves into anything, into being the underdog. And so for me, Uruguay beats Colombia 2-0, maybe 3-0, I think.
They're stacked, man. Uruguay's stacked. They got veterans, they got talent, you know, and they always like we always talk about how small the country they are, a size. It's like how many players you have, man. They still got Washington Tavares as their coach. You know, he's like 80 something years old. So they obviously they know what they're doing over there. I could definitely see Uruguay playing Argentina, and imagine that semifinal. That would be probably one of the best games in the tournament for sure. Unless we get Argentina Brazil in the final, then that would be the best game. So
Yeah,
I think both
absolutely.
of us have Argentina playing Brazil in the final, which on paper that's easy to say for anyone, but you know sometimes you see Colombia, sometimes you see Uruguay come up, but I just don't see it this time.
Yeah, I don't see it this time either. So I'm with you. I got a Brazil Argentina final. I think if there is a team out of the other 6 teams remaining, I think it's Uruguay to be the other team in that final.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably what I think whoever gets out of this game right here is I think if Colombia could get out of this game, I think Colombia could go obviously could shock somebody. So I would say out of this game, Uruguay Colombia, you're going to see a really really good game, and then the winner from that would be the third kind of that third place team for me that could do it for sure.
All right. So before we move on, any last words about the teams that didn't make it? Bolivia, uh, Venezuela. I mean, it's almost baffling to me how bad Bolivia has been as a federation the last 20 years. It's just
Yeah.
you figure at some point they would have a generation, a couple of talents. Venezuela's also the only team from South America to never make a World Cup. You know, it's sad. It's almost sad at this point. You know, what I mean, it's sad
I mean,
both the
it is,
federation.
but I think you know it reflects a lot of what's going on. Maybe home, what you know where their countries are. I think you know we know Venezuela's in dealing with other bigger issues than sports. So, but even with that, you know they have a great talented group. Venezuela has some players, man, and they're playing around the world. They're playing in different clubs, and I am shocked that Bolivia hasn't been able to turn it around. But this just goes back to what we said, man. That Mexico could definitely be in the CONMEBOL, and people say, oh, they wouldn't qualify every World Cup. I think they would qualify every World Cup cycle. I think they definitely would get one of the top 4 or 5 spots. I mean, you know, obviously it would be tough sometimes, but we just named a bunch of teams that I think Mexico today would be able to beat. So it just comes back to that argument.
Yeah, and I think for Venezuela, because they were in the U19 or U20 World Cup.
Yeah, they got like 3rd place, right?
Or yeah, something like that. So you know what you don't want is you don't want that generation to go to waste because it's such a uplifting, and it's more than anything, it gives your federation and gives your country hope. You know what I mean? And once that hope is lost, then you're really going back and you're going, man, like you know what I mean? Once those players from that area, once that hope is lost, especially for a team like Venezuela, then that's where it's really deflating because now you're waiting. Well, now you're going, how much longer is the wait? How much longer is this before we have the idea?
It's going to be a couple more World Cup cycles for sure. Yeah. I don't see it in the near future.
Something like Bolivia, where it's like, you know, what's happening at the youth level that they're just not able to create anything that's competitive. And you know what I mean?
Well, I think it's the leagues, right? Like if you just called only players from the league, right? It didn't call anyone in Europe. You know, there's no way that you would still, you know, you're not going to put Venezuela or Bolivia in that conversation anyways, right? You're still going to put Brazil there, right? With the best league, Argentina with the second best league, right? And it kind of just falls in the line with the rest of the teams that are there, Colombia, Chile, right? And so Uruguay, you know, Uruguayan team. So like, you know, if you go down that way, where are the Bolivian players going to do it, right? It's not like they're playing in Boca. It's not like they're playing in these bigger teams down in South America. They're definitely not playing in the Mexican League or in the MLS. So, you know, where are they going to get this talent that obviously when these tournaments come around, Brazil now calls all their players that are playing in the EPL, all the guys that are playing in Europe, and Argentina starts calling back everyone. It's like, dang, man, it's really hard. It's a really uphill battle for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where you almost have to think differently, and use what you have as a positive instead of a negative, and how can you do that at the ground roots level, at the youth level, to really just create something special that you can be competitive at least. I mean, it's competitive, and right now with Venezuela, at least there's still hope from that U20 group, and that there's something that possibly can be built. For Bolivia, how do you even create hope now? Actually the really sad part is that there's no even idea of hope to possibly come.
So let's say this real quick though. This is random. It just came to my head. When we talk about Mexico being able to compete in other confederations, you think you see Bolivia and Venezuela qualifying in CONCACAF? Would they hit the top 3.5 spots? No, right?
I think.
I mean, they could fight with Honduras.
I think in general, no. I think in the past, Costa Rica has been above both of them. I think Honduras would be. I mean, at the most, I think they would get like a half spot, but I think that would be. I think, you know, and with Bolivia, I'm thinking specifically, you're playing those games in the altitude in La Paz. Like that's going to be difficult for anybody and everybody. You see, that's like where they get the majority of the results and where they makes it like a fortress to play. So the only reason I say there's a possibility of that is because of that. But I think if they're in general, no, I don't think they make it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you're saying so they can't make it in CONCACAF, which is a couple steps below CONMEBOL. I mean, come on, man, you're putting them in the tough group,
Yeah, and I think part of it that really has to do with what Costa Rica has done in the last 20 years. I think Honduras has Honduras kind of been there a little bit, and I think now with what you're seeing from Canada and Jamaica too coming on the rise, I think there's going to be replacement between those two nations in terms of quality and overall quality. That I think if these guys are playing against each other 10 times, I'm taking Canada and I'm taking Jamaica for a more prosperous future if they were in the same federation.
Good point.
Yeah, but so I mean, we're gonna pour one out a little bit for you, Bolivia. We feel sorry for you. Pour one out a little bit for you. We're gonna pour a little vino tinto for you, Venezuela, and we're gonna move on. We're gonna do 50-50 real quick before we get to some questions. Guti, what's your first 50-50?
I thought you were gonna go first. Yeah, 50-50, right? So I'll throw out a topic.
I'll go first.
No, it's okay. Okay, so yeah, just explain what it is for the people. 50-50, we'll throw out a topic. We decided there's 3 options. You go with it, you play on, you let them play. No foul, nothing. You go to the VAR if you have no idea, or you kind of just toss it up, let someone else make the decision for you. And then, red card or send them away like we saw yesterday in that Sweden game, that red card, criminal red card. So yeah, go ahead, Ivan. What's your first topic, man? What you got?
Yeah, my first 50-50. What do you think about the Gold Cup doing these little qualifying tournaments through the Nations League for the last couple of spots for the Gold Cup? So, the groups in theory are set, but we don't know the teams yet. This week, you're going to have a little mini tournament with 12 teams battling out for the last 3 spots in the Gold Cup. Quickly, what do you think about that? And who are your teams to make it to the last stage and still be around for the Gold Cup next week?
So I'm gonna say play on, right? I'm all for it. I think people put down the CONCACAF for many reasons, like this and that. But at least there's an opportunity for growth. I feel like on the counterpart, CONMEBOL has no room for growth, right? They have 10 teams that participate in every single thing that they do. And we just talked about some countries that can't even get out of that hump, right? If Bolivia, Venezuela, or in Ecuador, those kind of, those smaller teams, if they were in CONCACAF, they'd have an opportunity to go head to head with some of these big teams here and there. Not all the time, but here and there, right? So for a country like Martinica and Haiti and Suriname and different countries like that, they're smaller ones, islands, Guadalupe, different Caribbean countries, I think it's all for, man. I think I'm all for it to allow them to grow, to allow them to get some kind of revenue, let their fans get an opportunity to be in there. And, it's still set up for Mexico and USA to go to the final the way that things set up, but it is the first time to do a Gold Cup draw, right? It's the first time to actually pick groups based on positioning. So I'm all for it, man. The more competition we can create within these Caribbean countries, I know it's like really small compared to the countries that we're talking about, these bigger names, bigger teams. But it's better for the Confederation. There's more growth, man. There's more opportunity for growth. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. So this was the part where, when we talked about the Nations League, the semifinals and finals a couple weeks ago, how it was like a crash grab. This is kind of like the other part of it where it's giving these nations, more games, more competitiveness, and then even like a team where you look like Trinidad and Tobago, who has ups and downs in the region as quality, not quality. Now they're getting more games and they're really able to test themselves. You have a team like Guatemala, who's kind of in a much more smaller scale, or kind of the kicking goats of
Right.
Central America. Now they're able to kind of get more competitive games too and build up something. So we have 12 teams. We have these three little four semifinals to see who the teams are. You got the bracket. Who do you think are the teams that will be going to the Gold Cup now?
Hold on. I had it right here in front of me. Here. Hold on. Hold on. I just had it in front of me, so give me a sec. But yeah, let me look it up real quick because I know Mexico's missing one of them, right? They're missing one in the group, right? They have they have one team that's missing in there. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Gold Cup qualifying. It's funny because I was trying to figure out who's gonna play who. Then I was like, qualifier. I had to go find it, man. So yeah, I see the teams right here. We have Haiti versus St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Haiti, I think just overall experience in those tournaments, but this is a toss up. But I'm gonna go with Haiti for that one. Haiti. There's like what 6 games though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Bermuda, Barbados. I guess Bermuda just because experience they had before, we'll just roll with them. Trinidad Tobago should be in the World Cup qualifier. They, usually they are. They've made it here and there. So I'm gonna go with Trinidad Tobago beating Montserrat, the island Montserrat, right? And then Guadalupe, Bahamas. Man, I remember Guadalupe playing the Gold Cup in 2007 when Hugo Sanchez was the coach. And they took Mexico to a 1-0 game. So yeah, Guadalupe probably beats Bahamas. It's just crazy because you don't know who these players are. They could be playing the second division in France. A lot of them do, right? Or third divisions in England, because they have their family members. And we've seen that before with Jamaica. We saw, Sterling is born in Jamaica. I guess he decided to play in Euro Cup when he could be playing the Gold Cup, but hey, it's fine. And then Cuba, Cuba versus French Guyana. I'm gonna go with Cuba. I always like these opportunities because like half the Cuban team will go missing after the first game, and they'll be playing with 10, but then a couple of those guys will end up in MLS next year, so that's good for them.
It's a win for them just to be there right now. They're going to be out of Fort Lawrence quickly.
It's just funny, right? They'll play that first game, and that second game they're going to have 10 players because they did it last time, I think. 10 players, right? With they played like a man down. A couple keepers had to play on the field. Like it was crazy. I think they had no keepers, I think, left over. And then Guatemala, Guyana, I think, Guatemala needs to show that they could be there. They could be there with El Salvador. They could be there playing against some of these teams, Panama. Guatemala shouldn't be that down, that below. Their league is okay for the region, So yeah, Guatemala, Guyana. I'll watch those games, man. I'll check them out a little bit here and there. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll make it simple. I'm going Haiti to make the Gold Cup, Guatemala to make the Gold Cup, Trinidad and Tobago to make the Gold Cup. Pop, pop, pop. There you go.
There you go. You're going with like the names, the home.
Yeah, I'm going with the favorites. Yeah. What's your 50?
So we talked about this a little bit. I kind of mentioned it with Switzerland. They were talking about a lot of these players play at home, right? A lot of these players don't play in these big teams that we talk about. Luis Garcia, one of the Mexican legends, also broadcaster for TV Azteca. He came out and said, we make a big deal that Jota Macia is going to Getafe, which is in all sense of the words kind of like whatever. It's not really big news. How do you feel? Do you think that the Mexican national team needs to have players? Does the base need to be in Europe, or are we competitive enough by having players playing in the home league?
I think Luis's comments are, it's yes for him to say it, right? Because he's a commentator for Mexican League Soccer and the Mexican. At the end of the day, I think what he wants. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I guess the idea is you can get the same quality in a good quality Mexican League team than you can from a mid-level, maybe lower level Spanish League team. I think that might be the idea of where we kind of think the Mexican League is at. The thing is, some of these Mexican League teams aren't ran as well as they probably should be. So you need Atlas. Kind of like Atlas, like Chivas. You know what I mean? Like like RIP Veracruz. You need going to a new country and experiencing the thing. it's a challenge, but it's good structurally for you because it makes you not only like grow up as a soccer player, but as an adult, which I think helps you grow up as a player, as a soccer player. So I think for that, that's good when you go to a place like that. And if you're able to adapt and if you're able to come with the changes, because there are a lot of changes to going overseas to a new country, even if the country you speak the same language, it's still a struggle. You know what I mean? You look, I think what's not talked about enough is the struggle like that when, you know, Stazzelo goes to Germany or Fabian goes to Germany and they don't know German and they might not be with their
Salcido,
family.
yeah, Salcido went to, and Massa, they went to Holanda. When they go there, they're like, what the heck? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I mean, you know, if Edson talked about the struggle it was to kind of be away from his family in Holland
Right.
and a new environment, a new country without your support. So I think being outside your comfort zone is important for growth as a player and as a person. I think if you're able to adapt and change, and if the club is there to support you while you step there, that's all. That's the best, I think.
Yeah. And I think it depends at what age you go to, right? So, like, if he goes to, some of these players go to Europe young, they get the 3, 4, 5 years, then they come back to a really big team in Mexico. I don't think their level has dropped. They come back to a Monterrey, you come back to a Tigres, you come back to these teams that play at a high level. I think Mexico can still go with the base of players that are playing Liga MX compared to other countries in the region that probably can't. Like, I really do feel like, I'm not trying to bash the MLS, but I really do feel like if the Team USA wanted to go with an MLS based team, they were not going to do as well as they can with the players they have now that are playing all over Europe. So I think that's what it is.
Yes, if run right, you know, being in a Monterrey, being in a Cruz Azul, being in America, that's good. You've seen what they've done over the last decade and a half, where structurally it's sound and there's an actual idea of the club itself. Even a club like Santos, they have an identity, and that identity is kind of put in place where it's a well-oiled machine, and they're not constantly changing a whole philosophy every couple of years. This is their philosophy, and when you kind of have that philosophy, it makes losing players or being able to put in new players much easier. And you know, for an extent, I think Leon is similar in that situation where you do have these handful of teams in Liga MX where you can get the base of these players in, and that level is good. And because the culture of that club asks for that, I think so. It depends on every player situation, of course, and you know, for like somebody like for like JJ though, I think it is a good opportunity for him to put himself in a situation like that, to challenge himself for a team like that who's going to frustrate teams in La Liga, who's going to look to upset teams. And you know, I mean, Griezmann was in Real Sociedad for a while before he was in Atletico, before he was in Barcelona, and
Yeah.
Real Sociedad isn't like bottom of the table, but they made one Champions League one year there when it was him and Carlos Vela. So you know, there's building blocks, and
Yeah.
there's different routes to
I
get
think
to
you
the
hit it.
top.
There's stepping stones. So you're for it, right? I think you're okay with, are you okay with Mexican team having their base in Mexico? Are you okay with having like a 50-50 kind of mix, or what? Or would you
Yeah,
like
I'm
to
happy
see a
with 50.
bigger?
Yeah, I'm happy
Okay.
with the 50. I think you've seen it with the Olympic team. I think the base is really good for the Olympic team, and those guys are the majority for Mexican league. You know what I mean? I was very happy with the squad when they were in the qualifying tournament. When you look at the talent and you look at the overall,
Yeah,
um,
and they're household names because guess what? They play in the Liga MX every weekend. And yeah, they're only 21, 22. Like, sometimes you forget how old these guys are, right? Like, we forgot how old, Chucky Lozano was so young for so long. It's like, wait a minute, how old is this guy? So like a lot of these guys, like, I feel like it is the media. And I know, like, we talk about the US team that have a bunch of guys in Europe, and it doesn't really turn my head too much. We're like, yeah, that's great that you have players all over the place. That is good. But are you able to put them together? Are you able to get a coach, right? Because let's be real, a lot of these European teams have all their players playing in Europe. It doesn't mean they have a run to win the World Cup, right? They don't have a chance to win it. So, I don't think that's 100% your success of having players all over Europe. I think it's where they're playing. Are they even playing, right? And are they even in a system that lets them play? Because a lot of these guys in the past have been able to go to Europe, but they don't want to go because of, lower salaries, lifestyle changes, like you said. A lot of these guys don't want to leave. They have kids already, they have families. So, I'm not too worried. I think Luis Garcia kind of hit it on the head a little bit. I mean, don't forget, man, 1998, when I fell in love with football, watching the Mexican national team in France, the whole team was playing in Mexico, and they went head to head with Belgica. They went head to head with Holanda. They went head to head with Germany. They should have beat Germany. We're talking about like Luis Hernandez. He was playing in Mexico at the time. All these guys were playing in Mexico. So I don't think you have to have everyone in Europe. You just have to be playing, consistently, I think.
Yeah, and and then you look at a situation like Gerardo Ortega, who has really blossomed, I think, and has grown in the year he's been in Belgium. And Belgium isn't one of the top tier leagues in Europe, but just to being in a new league and being consistent at that level, other clubs will see that and will take a chance on him now too. So it's really, there's not one clear path, because I mean, you've seen guys who started out in Barcelona and now they're not there anymore. You know what I mean?
They don't have a job.
They don't have a job. They don't have yeah, exactly. They don't have a job. So, would it be good to have players, because you've seen Rafa Marquez and the path that he took and the way he continued to grow, and at his time was one of the best defenders in the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yaya Torre said in an interview a couple weeks ago that he was 10 times better than PK.
I always thought that too, but I'm obviously biased. But yeah, no, kind of wrapping up this theme. But yeah, another player like that, Guardado, right, where he came out a stud, right, a star, kind of like Linus, coming out, scoring goals, going straight to Europe as a kid, and then he's still there. Like, we forget that Guardado's still. I forget all the time that he is still in Spain playing. Like, I really did forget. Like,
he's a vice captain.
Right. I'm like, wait a minute, he's still like. So and it's not, and he's never played on these big teams that we talk about. Obviously in Holanda he did, but like then he was in Leverkusen and he was moving around, yeah. And I feel like if you just find that fit for you, and you're able to play, you're able to grow, and it really depends on what team you're coming from as well. Like, we talk about it, some teams like Atlas will sell, they'll sell quick. That's the way they're set up, right? They'll come out young, sell them quick, right, to anyone. But other teams don't want to sell, right? Chivas doesn't want to sell for cheap. And that's why Macias has been blocked to go before. He should have left right after he was in Leon when he was the top scorer, right? He should have left right away, but it's all about the money, right? So at the end of the day, it's all about the Benjamins. And so we'll see. I do wish him luck. I do think it's good for him to get out of the league, go away, get a new media to be on him, and let's see how he does out there.
Yeah, now, I think it does when you make the Guardado point. It hasn't always been smooth sailing. He spent 2 years in the second division. He stayed with La Coruña and brought them back up. He's struggled with playing time in Leverkusen. He found his way back and fought for PSV. So there is something to say of like
became an idol in PSV. Yes.
Yeah, to sticking to it. He became a vice captain at PSV. He's the vice captain of Real Betis. You know what I mean? There is something about like staying and fighting through these things. Chucky Lozano, Gattuso didn't fancy him a couple of half a season ago, and he fought through that. And so that is also important, that even when they're not going well, that you just continue to work and you continue to evolve your game, and when the opportunity comes, that you take advantage of it. You know what I mean? So that's what I like to see with that. And Chicharito, for the most part, also kind of had that mentality of, he's in these positions, he's in these high level spots. He didn't just go back the first opportunity went bad to an MLS or Liga.
He still hasn't gone back, because he could have still gone to Mexico whenever he wanted to, and he's still trying to make it work. I think Galaxy is definitely like one of his last runs, but like you say, he fought through it, man. He's been on the bench. He ate bench for a long time in different teams. When we know if he was on a smaller team like a Getafe or something like that, he'd be a starter. So props to him. He's making that money and he has a good agent, and he actually fought through it.
Rafa Marquez went back to Italy.
Went back to Italy, yeah. When his career was already over, yeah. He went back to Italy. I mean, he did come and get the cash at Red Bull, but then he had a new life. He had a new injection of life when he went to Leon, where it's like, okay, I'm a veteran here.
He could have gone to Milan after the 2010 World Cup, but he went and chased the bill, and then he resurrected his career again at Leon, and then he went back to Ity at 34, 35 to play for a mid-level Italian club.
Shout out to him. He is coaching the U19s in Barcelona, so he's also climbing his way up. He's climbing his way up in the coaching ranks, and I do think we're gonna have like one of the. I do think he has an opportunity to be either like one of these big sporting directors, which I hope he'd do that instead. But I'm pretty sure he's going to try to be a head coach, and you never know, man. He could be coaching Barcelona one day. I could see that happening.
Hey, man, in 2025, when whoever's the coach gets fired for not winning the Gold Cup, Rafa Marquez, baby, coming in, taking us to the World Cup.
I think that'd be our dream, but I also feel like I think I don't know, man. I think he's smarter than that. I don't think you can do that young in your career. I think that's something you do later on. Taking a national team could definitely mark your, like, Hugo Sanchez is, I can't get over that hump still. So I don't know, man. I would want him to, not even like for the national team, that would be great, obviously. But I think for him and for like Mexican soccer, we need to have more coaches coaching in Europe, the way Aguirre was doing, and
That's
I think that'd be good for him.
yeah, no, that was just a joke because the way
No,
Mexico,
I know. I'm just saying. I'm just like, let's do the national team maybe later on.
he's in the right place for that kind of growth in Barcelona.
He has the name. He has the name.
And it's perfect for him in that regard. And if we're being honest, the top coaches in the world don't coach national teams. You know what I mean? Because they want to be there they want to be there every day. They want their finger on everything. There's a reason Mourinho hasn't coached a national team. There's a reason
Guardiola.
It's not even in the stratosphere of possibly coaching.
No, it's like a different, it's like a different part of your career, right? When you coach a national team, like it's like if you're one of these top, coaches that are managing these like big clubs, you're not going to go to your national team because they won't pay you as much. You can't work with the players as much, right? You're not part of the signings. You can't just buy players from anywhere, and you're only constrained to what you have. And so I just feel like that's not really something for them. I also feel like it's something you kind of do later on. You kind of prove yourself in the club rank. You're not getting these big teams anymore, and then you slide over. Like I think one of these other ones that you kind of keep your head on will be, or keep your name, keep that ready in your head, will be Nacho Ambriz. I think if he could do something kind of cool in Spain, I know it's second division, but if he could do something kind of cool there for a couple of years, move somewhere, I think that'd be a good coach to have in the national team pretty soon, one day.
Absolutely. And it's a balance. You either go very young for a national team position, or you go kind of older. You very rarely get these guys who are in, it's
coaching prime.
That's to in a club level to national team. And I think in Mexico that we kind of forget that the pinnacle isn't the Mexican national team for coaching. Sometimes for coaching, it just isn't. You know what I mean? Like, I think we kind of lose track of that because we think about playing for a World Cup or something like that as the most prestigious thing. But at the coaching level, sometimes that's not the most prestigious thing. I think we kind of forget that here in Mexico.
I think it's been a big thing for coaches that aren't from Mexico, using the Mexican national team as a stepping stone or as like a little highlight of their career. Definitely, right? But I do feel like a Mexican coach is probably like, bro, you want me to go there and get fired after 2 games that I lose against Honduras and what? I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? So it's not really. We couldn't even get Tuca Ferretti to do it, right? Who's like a home name that it would be great as a veteran to be there. So yeah. Good luck to Rafa. Good luck to Nacho Ambriz, and we need to have more coaches in Mexico for sure. In Europe, sorry, or in other places, not just Europe, other places.
Quickly, my man's looking old. Did you see that picture? Rafa Marquez is looking old.
He did post that. I didn't realize he was looking kind of old. Yeah, man. I mean, it's age, man. He's 40.
Handsome. He's only 42. That handsome 42. SOB is catching up to him. My man.
He still has a lot of money. Hey, but see, it's fine. He'll be all right. He'll look fresh. He'll look fresh in that little suit.
Hey,
so
there's a pro Rafa Marquez podcast, at least half of it. I know he's a big listener. So anytime you want to come on, Rafa, here's your house.
Yeah, big time. Well, yeah. I'm wearing my Jared Borghetti signed jersey that I waited in the line for one time in Oakland at a game. But anyways, let's wrap this up. I have some questions from the people. I just threw it out there. So let's get some questions. And I got a couple ones. So we don't want to spend too much time. We've been kind of dragging this one out today. But what we'll do is I have the questions in front of me. So I'll ask you one, then I'll answer one myself. And maybe if you can give it like a little 10, 15-second response so we don't take our listeners a whole entire day today. It says right here, first question. And this one is someone that lives close to you. It says, will Belgium win the Euros?
Yes.
There you go. Short and sweet. Yes. All right, cool. And shout out to everyone who did ask these questions. This is from the __Belgian. And so I know you know her very well. Okay. And then I got a question from Saul Rivas, 14. Who do you personally believe is the best soccer team in the Mexican league? And I guess I had to take my fan hat off. I'll answer this one, but I'm gonna say the best team in the last 10 years is gonna be Tigres. I don't think there's a question about it. I think if you turn the game on Saturday, Tigres is playing, you're gonna get star power. Especially what they just brought another Frenchie over, who they're both playing in the Olympics. So shout out to them. Yeah, that's my question there. As far as a fan, I root for Chivas, but and Ivan roots for Atlas, but I think we both agree Tigres are probably the best team in the league. Or I don't know.
It might be changing soon, but for the last recently.
Yeah, I'm just saying last decade, or if we were to send a Mexican team, okay, how about this? You're going to send a Mexican team to go play an MLS team, one game, like that's our representative, or go play a European team, or go play whatever. I think you're going to send Tigres. I think you are.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
Tigres, quickly I'll put in the mix. Monterrey and America as well. I think that'll probably be a top 3 of the teams that you'd want to send.
You would, or I mean, obviously today you'll send Cruz Azul, but I'm thinking like over the last 10 years, Tigres would probably be the best to represent your league. Okay. Next question. This is from Martin. Shout out to Martin. It's kind of a long question, so I guess we'll just narrow it down because it says, what would your ideal 11 be for the Mexican national team? Recent, old timers, like I guess like best 11. But if you just want to give like 2-3 players, that'd be good enough. So who would you be like top 3 players, man, in Mexican national team history today, including?
I mean, Ochoa, keeper, because I know that's always a one people always like to talk about who's in keeper. It's Ochoa. He's the best Mexican goalkeeper. Not the most flamboyant or with the best jerseys or anything like that, but he's the best keeper.
I'm not signing off on this one, but it's okay. This is yours to answer. So go ahead. Ochoa, who else?
Midfield, Pavel Pardo. Love that guy. And then, up top, I'm going Chicharito is like my 3. If I can go the rest, but I'll go with that because I think some of the other ones kind of naturally fill out with.
But you got Cuauhtemoc in there, right? For sure.
Yeah. If I'm going 3, I'll put Cuauhtemoc there.
Are you going with? Are you doing La Volpe? You're gonna leave him out for Senior? No. Okay. So yeah, and then obviously we know you probably put Rafa Marquez in the back line, right? For sure.
Yeah, Marquez with Claudio Suarez.
Claudio Suarez. Yeah.
I like Salcido on the left.
Whew. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, cool. Next question, because we have like 4 more. I guess it says right here, team for the Euros, and a shout out to Alexis, one of my former players. He asked this one on Instagram. Team for the Euros. It was France, So, but now we after this episode, I said I'm rolling with Italy, so I guess Italy would be the one I'm rolling with. So, okay, Ivan. Next one right here, man. It says who to blame for the early exit from France. Shout out to Diego, my boy Diego, for asking this. Who's to blame for the early exit from France? Like, why? Who are you blaming, man?
I'm blaming Deschamps. I think the starting lineup right away was right off the bat was bad. Rabiot playing as a left wing, like a left wing back, just never worked. And then they tried to change on the fly, but at that time, Switzerland had gained too much confidence at that point. And so I'm gonna put Deschamps on that for the overall just lack of success for them this round.
Okay, that's good. Okay, a couple more questions. We're almost done. So it says right here, this is from my boy Hanster the Monster, which is my boy Danny. Shout out to him. He has a podcast, Liga MX podcast, and he did say, "Why haven't you had me on your podcast?" So I guess I'll let you answer that one. I don't know, why haven't we had someone on the podcast? What's your answer to that?
Because baby, we're trying to make a little magic on ourselves, and then once that's good, once that ingredient's nice and smooth, we're gonna add. It's like it's like baking something. You add the dry ingredients first, and then little by little, you start adding the eggs.
Okay.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Big shout out to them. Like I said, they were the first ones.
Afternoon mix is big. We'll get you in. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, and then we'll do some kind of collaboration from them. Shout out to them. They're in LA region, so San Fernando Valley as well. Okay, and he also said main reason. His real question is the main reason, Ivan, the selección is being held back. I guess he probably is saying that we're not doing the best we can. So what do you think? What is one of the main reasons that the selección mexicana is not being, the potential that not reaching the potential that we think they can?
Man, I thought we were trying to make this quick.
Let's do it quick. Yeah, give me a quick answer. Don't go too deep, but yeah, give me a quick one, then we'll wrap this show. That's it. It's a wrap for the show. What do you think? Why is the selección? And hey, before you say this, because I'm thinking about right now, it's like, how can we say that when we're ranked top 10 in the world? Like, I mean, we lost one game. Like, if we would have beat USA, I don't think the alarms would be on. So anyway, but go ahead, answer the question. Where do you think Mexico's not where they can be?
Well, one reason, the owners, the Mexican League owners, the higher ups.
There you go. I like it, man. I appreciate everyone for sending their questions in. Hit us up on Twitter. I'm trying to manage all these Twitters, but at @football_theory on Instagram and Twitter. It's been a long episode, but Ivan, go ahead and close out the show. What you got to say, man? Anything else?
Yeah, just thank you guys for listening. We love you guys. Be healthy, be happy. Hug your loved ones always. Guti, appreciate you as always as well. Thank you so much. And yeah, that's always the last thing I like to say. Just hug your loved ones and thank you guys.
Yep. Thank you so much. Adios. kind of like one of his biggest moments.
It was especially when they were starting out in the 90s.